Some people have asked me why it is that this Coronado encounter, the presence of the settlement, and the battle are not part of O'odham oral history. The Sobaipuri O'odham were the ones that encountered Coronado, and they're the ones that fought this battle and chased out the Spaniards. The Spaniards didn't come back for about 150 years. This event occurred in 1541. And this person asked why this series of events is not part of their oral history, given how important it is. And they said that they would think it would be an important part of their oral history. So I'm going to try to answer some of the reasons I think this is the case. And then also I'm going to have Tony Burrell, who is a descendant of these people, an O'odham, answer his view, provide his view as to why he thinks it might not be part of their oral history. Now, first of all, anthropological studies have shown that societies tend to maintain memory about events for about 100 years. After that, the memory selectively transforms into other forms of information transition, or many events simply fade or are fused with others. So that's one reason. Also, the way that societies deal with traumatic events differs. Some remember events like this and others do not. We have to acknowledge as well that this battle was one of many that occurred through the centuries. And through time, the specific events related to the earliest conflicts may not be isolated in societal recollections. In fact, the most recent battle is often the most traumatic, given that it's impacting those people directly right then, rather than being present simply as a story. The types of issues transmitted in history vary between cultures. Some of the issues and ways in which a society remembers history differs from our own. For example, they remember the clay ceremony related to a child's birth, but don't remember anything about the unique way that they built structures in the 1500s, because the latter has no relevance to modern life. What is important to anthropologists or to members of the public may not be important to the actors in a society who are simply moving through life and making choices based on current life circumstances. Also, the way some societies transmit history differs from our own. The O'odham used calendar sticks to recount important events that occurred during the keeper's life. This calendar stick was buried with the keeper when they died, so that their particular rendition of history is buried with them. So while more general events may be remembered in other ways, or a specific event might be generalized into a broader oral history, the very specific year-to-year events that were recorded on these calendar sticks are buried with the keeper.
Yeah, one of the things that we used to do was every big event that was important to the O'odham was put on a calendar stick. And there was one individual that was responsible for adding the events. But when that individual passed away, they buried that calendar stick with him. And so we have no record of what had happened in the past. You know, one of the things that has been asked is why the O'odham don't remember the battle when they chased Coronado out of Arizona. Is that that battle it was something that the O'odham did, and as O'odham people, as O'odham, we don't, I guess you would say, kind of brag about it. We don't tell them what we did, and you know, like the O'odham, Sobaipuri O'odham did. We did this. We chased out the Spaniards. We're kind of, our people aren't that way. One good example I have is that, you know, I've been asked to write bios on myself, and it's kind of hard because, you know, I don't really want to brag about myself. I don't want to tell people that what I've done, what I've accomplished, and it's just the way we are. We're just kind of real humble, I guess. Real, you know, we just don't brag about anything. So.
It's important to keep in mind that when we suggest that they should remember, we're imposing a judgment, unintentionally usually, but this could add to the historical trauma relating to how much of their history, their culture, their tradition has been lost or transformed. In fact, it is what it is. And what persists sometimes is the trauma related to this Coronado event and the many similar encounters that occurred throughout history that have contributed to the way that they are now, which is a product of colonization. In my own studies, I've wondered and have discussed with the O'odham how much of what we observe today is a product of colonization. From this project, we have more information on that. And it turns out that the notion of them being docile and peaceful is probably very likely a product of colonialism, because during the 1500s and later in the 1680s, when we have accounts of battles between the Sobaipuri O'odham and Europeans, or the Sobaipuri afraid of them. So their way of life, their traditions and so on have changed through time, but that doesn't make them any less O'odham. Everyone changes through time. So these are some of the reasons why the Sobaipuri O'odham descendants, the Wak O'odham in the Tucson area, do not remember this specific encounter with the Europeans, the earliest encounters with Europeans that we know of, and why they don't recall this battle specifically, especially given how important it is, how important it was to history. So these are some of the reasons. All of them contribute through time. This was nearly 500 years ago. That general societal remembrance, the trauma that went through, that passed through time, continued through time, and built through time as a result of these encounters, is very real today, and is part of what many Native tribes experience up to this day. So that is the answer to the question of why such an important event is not remembered by the O'odham who were present and fought this battle against the Europeans in 1541.